you got like 100 million people who hate Biden. Every Trump voter and half of the Democrats. It's just that those half hate Trump more. But once Biden is the target, then they're going to be like, okay, now that we voted for you because we didn't like Trump, we really don't like you too.
I still can't get past the fact that Biden supposedly got more votes than Obama when half of the Democrats hate him.
well, this is the thing. Everyone we had on the show was biting their tongue and saying, "Yeah, I voted for Biden. It's horrible. It was. I didn't want to do it."
Well, not everybody. Two people.
Well, that's everyone that I've been around when I was co-hosting for me. But everyone I talked to has the same sentiment. You know, they were bamboozled, they were fooled to believe maybe something, but they knew deep down that something was wrong, and I think most of America knows that. So we're going to see that play out in our social discourse very soon. We already have Black Lives Matter tweeting at the Biden administration like, "Hey, we were supposed to meet. Hey guys, what's going on here?"
A cop.
Yeah. And the top prosecutor that sent innocent people away to jail knowingly, she knew people were innocent. She still made them rot in jail and ruin their lives.
Well, I mean, that is cool. It kind of brings me a weird sense of joy because I'm demented that Black Lives Matter helped get a cop elected. Like, I just love it.
Paradoxical, man. That's the craziest thing. It's like, you know, what a lot of people we've had on, and or not even who we've had on, but like people who have come here and we've talked. When they say they vote for Biden, I'm like, oh yeah, why? Well, you know, Trump's bad for what? What do you do? Come on, man. You can't, like, I can sit here and I can go through everything Trump's done and his family, and we can talk about the emoluments clause and his resorts and his businesses. You can talk about shady business dealings and all that stuff. It doesn't compare to Joe Biden. Now, if we're going to have, like, you know, a turd sandwich versus a giant douche, I understand why people might be like, I don't know, man, I voted for Biden. But so these are low information people. A lot of these people are young. Like, we had a dude on the other day, he's 24. He doesn't know anything about the Joe Biden administration. He was like a teenager not paying attention to when Joe Biden and Obama were in and the horrible things they were doing. So it's like, you know, the left was protesting Obama, right? With you know, Black Lives Matter started under Obama. Occupy Wall Street was under Obama. Mm-hmm. He wasn't like this great left-wing leader that they're telling you now. And Joe Biden was a part of that. It's like you're complaining about systemic racism. Joe Biden's the guy who's been in office for 47 years who made that stuff and helped facilitate these wars. You don't got a good reason for voting for the guy. I'm sorry. I understand if you came to me and said I didn't vote for anybody, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. But saying you voted for Biden, nah, there's no excuse. You just didn't know what you were talking about. But you know, so if you got 80 million votes, I think people just were told by the media, you know, Orange Man bad. They believed it.
Well, this Dominion stuff, there might be merit to that Dominion stuff.
Well, that report that came out, you saw that, Cassandra?
Which one?
The Antrim report. That said that votes were like there was the machines had intentional errors. Mm-hmm. So you can't just you know, the traditional culture war arguments don't work on this. Or they're like, oh, the guy's biased. The guy who wrote it's biased. I'm like, I don't know anything about that. No, I'm sorry. I just read a report. I don't know who that guy is. Well, he's biased. I don't care. Evidence. Investigate the evidence. Tell me what happened. I don't care about your opinions on politics. It's not going to solve anything, and that's all they have so far. Not like anything's going to happen from it.
I'm thinking about the inception of Occupy, and that was basically when Obama bailed out Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae.
Mm-hmm. The big banker bailouts of 2008.
Yeah, trillions of dollars inflated. I don't know how much he inflated the currency, but...
Well, there was the national public bailouts, and then there was the secret Federal Reserve bailouts that I talked about with Ben Bernanke, and he got angry and tried to rip away my microphone. Wow. I brought that up. Wow. I was like, what about the secret $1 trillion that you gave out that no one knows? And then he got mad and livid and literally had me kicked out.
And they just did it again with a $3 trillion that they printed in like...
Yeah, well, right now, BlackRock is being financed by the Federal Reserve. All of their losses are being subsidized by the Federal Reserve, just printing money and giving it to them right now, as the average taxpayer stands by and says, hey, you got anything for me? And then the big banksters are like, printer go burr, no more for you. Printer go burr. Yeah, printer broke. Yeah, I love memes.
The meme is a bunch of pigs with top hats, and the guy's cranking the money printer, and the money's flying out, and he's like screaming, and his eyes are bleeding or whatever. And then the capitalist pig is like, it's literally a picture of a pig with like a cop hat and a monocle, is like smiling and taking the money. And then below it, it's one of those like really sad looking, you know, guys, and he's like, please, I need money for food. And then there's an angry person holding the thing saying the printer broke.
Yes.
There's no money for you. But there's money for all the big business.
So money went burr in '08, was it, when they
tremendously.
Bailed out? So and then 2 years later, Occupy struck. So now we're looking at the printing now. Maybe in a year or in a year and a half, we're going to see another Occupy. But we're already kind of seeing it with these autonomous zones. They just haven't been forced into it. Like people haven't lost their houses. Well, they're starting to.
People are losing their houses. But crazy evictions are coming soon, man.
Occupy didn't have focus. It lacked a lot of people were down on the
purpose.
Federal Reserve. Yeah, it got like muddled.
A bunch of weird like social justice people came in and took over and then made it literally about nothing.
But it should have been about the Federal Reserve and taking back the money supply, I think.
It was about Wall Street. It was about occupying Wall Street. Literally, the plan was to go down to like Wall and Broad in New York and sit there making demands. It kind of doesn't make sense because people don't know what Wall Street is. I remember we were down there and a bunch of the activists got into, in front of Wall and Broad. They barricaded it basically, but people eventually found their way in. And some guy came out and he was like, "What are you even protesting?" And they were like, "Wall Street." And he's like, "What? Retirement funds? What are you talking about?" And I started laughing. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah, because Wall Street's a lot of retirement funds, like 401ks and IRAs and stuff. People think it's just like Wall Street just is a phrase to represent powerful corporate interests. It doesn't necessarily mean it's what Wall Street literally is doing. But that's what the original focus was, that the big banks got these big bailouts and regular people didn't. And so that was the issue. Instead, the older people, the libertarian types, a lot of the Ron Paul types who were there left because guess what? They have jobs. And then the young people who didn't have jobs were sleeping in the park. And then the kids who had apartments in Brooklyn and their parents paid for, a couple trust fund kids, I know they're literally trust fund kids, not all of them, but there were some, they had no jobs. So they were like, this is my job now. I'm going to come here and organize. And that was it. Occupy Wall Street became some weird social justice progressive nonsense that made no sense. Fought for nothing.
They were there to bust up fractional reserve banking and the Federal Reserve's fiat.
That's not. That was not a statement from anybody.
I know. Unfortunately, it just became about like social justice.
But that was never a stated goal of Occupy Wall Street.
But those conversations did happen, and there were individuals pushing for that.
But the original call for Occupy was for the far left, who organized 1 month before to organize what it was going to be and what it was going to look like, and they wanted to occupy Wall Street, and it was for far left causes. There was no official planning organization where they were like the Federal Reserve and fractional banking or whatever. Those conversations happened, especially with the Ron Paul people.
So basically what we need to do is tell everybody that Radiohead's going to perform at the Federal Reserve.
That's what they did.
I know.
People don't know.
Dude,
I was there when that happened, and I remember when they announced Radiohead was coming, I was like, that's not true.
Yeah.
And thousands of people showed up. And then the guy's like, okay, before he's like, we're going to let you know Radiohead's not really playing here, but now that you're here, we're going to do a general assembly. It was actually quite brilliant.
Yeah.
Because there's two things. First, the people who were there, I talked to this young woman. I was like, so did you come here for Radiohead? And she goes, oh, well, I came for Occupy. And I was like, but to like watch Radiohead? And she goes, yeah. And I was like, but they're not coming. She's like, no, but I'm here for the cause, like not wanting to be, admitting it. So what they got was, they did a general assembly where they got everyone to mindlessly chant along to what they were saying. So one of the things they do at Occupy is the people's mic. The far left does this all the time with their protests, where at a rally someone will say mic check, and then everyone yells mic check, and then they'll start saying something, and everyone repeats it. That actually creates uniformity between people because they're getting people to chant and say these things over and over again. So they have thousands of people show up, and then they say mic check, and then everyone yells, and they go, I think. We should be socialists. And then everyone is chanting, we should be socialists over and over again. So it was effective. It was brilliant. It was evil. It was very evil.
There's
amazing.
A psychological test that's really famous, and I can't think of the name of it right now, but I was watching it last night, where they put a person in a room with a bunch of actors, and they have a poster with different lengths of lines, and they'll be like, which two lines are the same? And the actors all conformly, like, they all say the wrong one. And then they watch, and like the person who's not an actor the first time will be like, it's B and A are the same. And then after a few rounds, he'll start going along with what everybody else said. And it's been repeated like hundreds of times.
People
can be
dumb, huh?
They always conform to what
monkey see, monkey do.
Well, we talked about this. There was a viral video
where
they did this, where they had a doctor's office, and then it's a bunch of actors sitting down, and the non-actor, the mark, walks in, sits down, then you hear a beep, and then all of the actors stand up for about 5 seconds and then sit back down. So eventually, the mark, the non-actor, is looking around like, why is everyone standing? Then starts standing up and sitting down with them, not knowing why. Just everybody's doing it, might as well do it. Eventually, there's one guy who's like, what are you guys doing? And he's like, just what we're supposed to do. It's like, okay. So here's the best part. One by one, they removed the actors and started putting in non-actors until everyone who was there had no idea why they were mindlessly standing up and sitting down when the beeps happened. But they just do. And when the guy was like, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know. Everyone's just doing it. It's like, that's not a good reason to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, they did that study with animals, and there's also the other one where they had a patient execute someone thinking that it was the right thing to do because they had someone in authority tell him to do it, and they were pressing
not
a button
execute, but
that
electrocute.
they thought they were electrocuting someone with higher and
You
higher
said
voltage.
execute.
Well,
That's a little
potato,
different.
potato.
Yeah,
well, essentially,
lethal.
at the end of the study, the guy died.
Right,
He
yes.
faked his death, but to the point where the guy was being told what to do, he just kept clicking the button and then executed the guy. So
I think it's because it's more important for us to adapt than to be right. Sociologically, historically, for us to survive, it was more important that even if we're doing what we know is wrong, if it's the thing that fits the situation, we would do it, and those would be the people that would survive. So it's like in our DNA to say that the wrong thing is right if everyone else is doing it.
Social, it's like tribalism.
That's what fractional reserve bank. I think that's when people see this fiat fake money printing
They
machine
can't understand
going on.
that, dude.
Well, let's explain it a little bit. In the 1970, Nixon took us off the gold standard and instituted fiat currency so that the Federal Reserve could print as much money as
Didn't
they
they
wanted.
seize gold?
They
I
did. Yeah, I
don't
remember
know.
that.
Yeah, they
There
said
was
like you
something.
got
I remember
to
reading
give your
about
gold up.
I
And
was shocked.
Taking it.
from what I know about fractional reserve banking is that if a central bank loans $100 to a bank, then the bank can take 90% of that money and loan it out. And then the person that receives that $90 gets to loan out 90% of that. So they can loan out $81 of that. So you've created from that initial $100, $171.
That's how the money supply is expanded.
Yeah.
The issue is that if you have, like, the easiest way to explain the issue is,
What happens is, so you've created fake money, and then you request interest back on the fake money. So it's this giant pyramid scheme.
right, and then eventually the interest outweighs the money supply, and then pops. But the easiest way to explain this, because people are going to be like, I have no idea what that means, is if you have a rare painting, it's worth a bunch of money. If all of a sudden there's complete and exact replicas, like 100 of, like let's say this, you got a rare Luke Rudkowski original pressing, and it's worth just a mere $1,000 because Luke's not necessarily a famous painter, but it's a unique painting made by him worth $1,000. All of a sudden one day someone opens a vault and there's 1,000 of them. Well, now it's not valuable anymore because there's just tons of them. Who wants them? Everybody who wants one gets one, and then nobody's trading them anymore. So when they just keep mass printing money with no standard, with no backing, then the value is just the confidence of individuals in that system. And what happens is the more they print, the more your values dilutes. It's inflation.
Yep.
It's just, yeah.
Well,
And the
the
more-
scary thing is right now, if enough people go to the bank to try to get their money back, they won't be able to. A lot of people think that if they put their money in the bank, it's there and it's kept safe for them. It's not.
But that's true
Yeah.
with or without fractional reserve.
yes, of
So-
course. But that makes the problem a little bit worse.
Yeah.
I think it's
Well,
fair to say.
90%
runs on the
worse.
banks are
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that they can loan out money that they don't have is crazy. That you could
That's
borrow
they
$100
create
and,
the money.
and then loan out 90 of it, but still keep your 100.
Listen.
So
Ponzi
you
schemes.
create $190
Yes.
from a $100 loan.
Ponzi schemes work really great so long as no one dares get that, screw with your system, to put it mildly. So the United States, the petrodollar, the fractional reserve system, it's brilliant. We just got to keep printing the money, and we'll keep expanding, and we'll keep growing, and keep spending, and everything's great. Unless, someone like Gaddafi comes along and wants to trade, and what do you want to trade?
Gold
In
dinars.
dinars, and then
Yeah.
you get Saddam Hussein who says maybe we should entertain the euro, and then you have no choice but to can we drone this guy? Can we drone this guy? And then what Hillary Clinton say? We came, we saw, he died. Mm-hmm. And that's I'm not saying that's exactly why. The official reasons as to why we drop bombs on countries is because I guess they're bad people. They hate our freedom.
The reason I'm railing on the Fed is because I think if we were going to start a new political party, it would be to repeal the Federal Reserve Act. Like Ron Paul was the closest thing we had to a new political party.
But I don't think that would work at this point.
Oh, gosh.
The system would collapse.
What other unifying message do you think we could have?
Nobody knows about the Federal Reserve or what fractional reserve banking is, and it doesn't impact their lives.
It to like 50,000 people.
And no one's going to care because it doesn't
I don't
impact
know
their
about
immediate
that.
lives. If you went on the gold standard right now, $1 would be worth nothing, like a gold flake.
No, going back to the gold standard doesn't make sense. I think that's why you got to rely on crypto. Proof of work.
Maybe Bitcoin. I don't know.
Because you can't print infinite amounts of it. There's a finite amount of it in the supply.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.